All right, so today, inshallah, we are going to continue where we left off from last time. We didn't finish the lesson, like the previous lesson, lesson 2. I think I added so many polls that opened further discussions, and I think that took some time from the lesson. But we will continue, inshallah. It doesn't matter. We are not rushing. We're just trying to make the best use of the time. And of course, it's crucial that everybody understands the concepts. But we'll continue, and then perhaps at the end, inshallah, we'll have or more. Maybe we will allow more time for Q&A, just in case some people need more discussion about those concepts. Okay, so. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف المرسلين والمبعوث رحمة للعالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد سيد الرسل أجمعين وسيد الخلق أجمعين صلاة تنجينا بها من كل أهوال القيامة يا رب العالمين. We will start today, inshallah, with lesson 3. It's actually a continuation of lesson 2 with added stuff into it. So we'll just perhaps start again with or continue the rational judgment, the intellect rules, the mind rules, many translations. And I think it's important to note that this is not the, all these translations are terminology. They are terminologies to the topic. They are not used here in this context as a linguistic meaning of the word, right? So it is not the rational judgment that you do in order to, for example, decide what is the best way to go to work today. That's something completely different, right? So I hope this is clear. If it is not clear, feel free to ask questions at the end. We talked about ahkam al-aql, and we said there are 3 rational judgment or ahkam al-aql, necessity, impossibility, and possibility. We talked about that. We gave a lot of discussions. We're going to continue that as well. I think the reason that I'm stressing this point is, and the reason also that the Shaykh, Rahmatullah alayh, Imam al-Dardir, started his poem with it is the most important concept in Aqidah. It is a concept that everything that comes after it are built on it. So if you really, and this is actually the key to protect yourself, protect your kids, protect your brothers, or protect your sisters, protect everybody that you want to protect from going astray, whether out of Islam or atheism or whatever, or whether even having a shared opinion or a deviated sect opinion within Islam. So keeping on this ahkam al-aql, understanding it and applying it is the key to stay within the boundaries of Ahlul-Sunna wal Jama'ah. Then we move on to the next lines of the poem. Shaykh Rahmatullah alayh says, وواجب شرعا على المكلف معرفة الله العلي فاعرفي أن يعرف الواجب والمحال مع جائز في حقه تعالى ومثل ذا في حق رسل الله عليهم تحية الإله. So basically what that means is it is a Sharia obligation for any person who became responsible, mukallaf, what we call a mukallaf, who is now became responsible for his actions or her actions, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we said before, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I've only created jinn and ins to worship me. And in order to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to know Him. How can you worship Allah if you don't know Him? And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. Know with al-ilm here is knowing with proof, affirming knowledge with proof, where i'tiqad, jazim, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. Right. Then the next line, to know what is necessary, impossible, and what is possible for Him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, ta'ala. Similarly, to know the same for the messengers of Allah, may Allah's blessing be upon them. Okay? So that is basically why in Ahlul-Sunna al-Jama'ah way, the first obligation once you became responsible for your actions, you have to know Allah. You have to learn the existence of Allah and Allah Wahid and Wahdaniyya and so on. And this is a process. That doesn't mean you stop all Sharia thing until you know Allah and everything that are there to know about Ilm al-Tawheed. That is not the meaning. It's basically embracing. It's basically embracing that concept or that knowledge of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, even if it based on a very high level proof, as we're going to see later on. So the obligations are, we are required to know Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and acknowledge and submit to the rights of Allah, حقوق Allah, the rights of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and what is, as I said, necessary to Allah, for Allah, to what is necessary that you acknowledge, what is necessary that you that you deny for Allah, and so on. So, for example, to know what has to be affirmed for Allah necessary. For example, Allah exists. You have to affirm that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala exists, that Allah is Almighty, all-knowing, and so on. You also have to affirm that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, or to deny that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has no sharik, right? There is no God but Allah. So that's basically denying the existence of another God with Allah. So anything that is that may be considered shortcoming to Allah's holiness has to be impossible for Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. And also to know what is possible. So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala can create like something he also may decide not to. So he has the qudra, has the power to do this, or doesn't do it. It's based on his willingness and his irada and his decision, right? Does not mean to memorize them or just be aware, even if one cannot list them or remember them, each one. Yeah, just knowing them, knowing that basically at a very high level Allah exists and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala deserves all the perfect attributes and all the perfect like holiness and so on, and everything bad is denied, even at that level, even if you don't know what exactly are the bad or what exactly are the good, right? Imam Junaid radiallahu anhu said, who doesn't know the judgments is a stupid person, right? I'm not aware of this particular saying, but it makes sense. I'm not sure, but it makes sense. Yeah, who doesn't know that is, I mean, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala give you mind or give you this power basically, and that's what distinguishes you from animals. That's basically it. If you don't use it, as we said before, if you block it and don't use it, that's why those who doesn't accept the existence of Allah in our religion, in Sharia, as Allah Subhanahu wa Taala tells us, they are going to be punished for that, or they are subject to punishment. Right. So basically, so that's basically those lines. We are going to explain and elaborate on those further as we go along. Now moving on to the next lines. الواجب العقلي ما لم يقبل الانتفاء في ذاته فابتهلي. So here the Shaykh radiallahu anhu wa rahmatullah alayh, Imam al-Dardir, came back to the al-wajib al-aqli. So at the start he said, all right, what are the ahkam al-aql? What are the rational judgments rules? Here they are. What is the first obligation? What you need to know to start with in aqidah? These are the what you need to know, like very high level. And then he come back to teach you again what is al-wajib al-aqli, what is necessary aqlan as a rational judgment, what is not, and so on, so that you can apply that to knowing Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, how to know Allah. So right, he told you need to know Allah. Right, Sheikh, how can I know it? What should I know about him? How can I decide what is applicable, what is not applicable, and what is right, what is wrong? Now he tells you that. So rationally necessary is something that doesn't accept negation in itself. So it's intrinsically cannot be negated. Tabtahili means so do dua. So that's basically just a translation of this one. And I think back to perhaps this point, actually, I forgot something. You reminded me about this saying of Imam al-Nujayd. Sorry to just jump back and forth, but I think this is something nice to understand. I think I skipped it, but it's important. If we go back to those lines, the very earlier lines of Ahkam al-Aql, when the Sheikh said ثم الجواز, he's talking about the third حكم, which is a possibility. ثم الجواز ثالث الأقسام فافهم منحت لذة الأفهام. So basically he is saying, if you know those three things, the Ahkam al-Aql, you need to understand. So to understand, you have been granted the gift of understanding. You have been granted the gift of understanding. This is the gift of understanding, to understand the Ahkam al-Aql and apply them, right? So anyway, so if we go back to where we were. Right. So الواجب العقلي again ما لم يقبل الانتفاء في ذاته فابتهلي. So it is something that in itself it doesn't accept being negated. Right? And likewise, the mustahil, the impossible, would be something that that accept being negated, right? Or sorry, doesn't accept being affirmed. والمستحيل كل ما لم يقبل بذاته الثبوت ضد الأول. يبقى the impossible is something that doesn't accept being affirmed intrinsically, like in itself, as opposed to the first. So ضد الأول, opposite to the first. وكل أمر قابل للانتفاء وللثبوت جائز بلا خفا. And then out of those two, anything that accepts being negated or affirmed is possible without vagueness. It's clear, right? So you can even see that this categorization is actually made in according to Ahkam al-Aql itself, because there are no other Ahkam al-Aql. Your mind cannot find other hukm, right? It is either necessary, wajib, it's either impossible, mustahil, it's either possible. If it is not this or that, it has to be possible. Is this clear now, or did I cause any confusion to anybody? I hope everything is clear. Anyway, in the Q&A, we'll pick up any problems, inshallah. Now, let's take a poll. I don't remember where we left off with the polls, so let me have a read. Let's see that one. Something that is fixed and do not accept being negated from an intellectual standpoint is called? What do you think this is called? Unnegotiable, necessary, affirmed, intellect. Okay, so do you see the result? Right, it's necessary. I think we covered this point then. Great. What about something that accepts being negated and affirmed in reality? What is this called? It accepts being negated and affirmed. It's either or. It could be this or that. So we got one vote only saying impossible. So perhaps I confused you or something, but maybe in the Q&A, if this is not clear, ask the question. If it is basically, if it accepts being negated or affirmed, it's possible. It can be this or that. All right. Do we have anything else? Examples of necessary rational judgment are, what would be an examples of rational judgment here? 1 + 1 = 2. Is this, you can pick all that apply. 1 + 1 = 2. 6 is half of 12. Human breathing. Black crowds. Gravity. What is necessary? All right. Sorry, I just stopped everything. There are more voting, but just so that we don't waste time. Okay, so the correct answers are 1 + 1 = 2. That's necessary. 1 + 1 cannot equal 3. 1 + 1 + 1 cannot equal 3. Sorry, 1 + 1 + 1 cannot equal 1. It must equal 3. 6 is half of 12. That's also necessary. Human breathing is not necessary because, like from an intellectual point of view, from Ahkam Aql point of view, it is not necessary because in Jannah, inshallah, we don't need to breathe. Black crowds, again, that's not necessary. There are white crowds, or you can even imagine, if something you can imagine in your mind, then is not impossible. Gravity is a rule of physics, necessary from a physics point of view, because Allah created it this way. Allah could have created a different way, so it is not necessary. Right. Last one. What are examples of impossible rational judgment? What is impossible? 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. Is that possible or impossible? 2 / 3 = 6. A flying teapot. A moving object without a mover. A camel going through the eye of a needle. All right. So let's repeat that one later on. But anyway, I mean, most of you got it right. Just there are a few problems here or there, but we'll talk about that later. But perhaps the most notable point here is 1 + 1 + 1 = 1 is impossible, right? Can be. And that's why I said earlier, Ahlul-Sunna wal Jama'ah insisted that Ahkam al-Aql is necessary to keep our religion and our deen intact. If you basically don't respect that, then it's a free fall for everything. Every deviated sect, every wrong belief or aqidah can say whatever they want. All right. So I'll give you some more examples to clarify everything. First of all, in contradictions such as something that is moving or staying still. Something, so we're talking about some specific thing, the same thing, right? I have this bottle of water, okay? It cannot be still, staying still like that, and moving at the exact same time. I could move it, so now it's moving. I could stop it, so now it's stand still, or now it's still, but it cannot be moving and still at the same time. If I have another, if for example, I have another object, could be my glasses here. I could move my glasses to movement and standing still now are combined. They are right here, they are happening. Movement and standing still are happening, but they are happening to two different objects, right? This one is moving and that one is still, yeah. But moving or this moving or standing still for the exact same point object at the same time for the same place and so on and so forth, when all the other conditions are constant, that can be, okay? Also, something exists and doesn't exist. So these contradictions. And actually, at the same time, for contradictions, I'm actually moving a little bit more advanced now. So this is something even like out of the Kharida, but perhaps because we're not going to be repeating Al-Kharida, I think next time, inshallah, or after this course, we're going to start another book. So I'm giving the Kharida now more basic knowledge than I plan to. Yeah, I didn't show the correct answers for the previous one because I'm going to have it again at the end of the lesson, inshallah. Right, so I was saying for contradictions, they cannot happen together, and also that object has to be one of them. It is either moving or standing still. You cannot take those two like descriptions out of the object. The object, it can either be moving or still. So it can be both, but also it can be neither. It has to be one of them. This is crucial, okay? The importance of this will not come to you now, but remember this, and we're going to go, if you continue with me for further more advanced courses, you'll understand why this is important. Counterparts counterparts are different, or somewhat different, like black or white, for example. So my mobile is black. I guess it's black, or I don't know what that color is. So something cannot be black and white at the same time. So again, this is impossible for something to be black and white at the same time. Maybe you see like a grid of boxes, black and white, black and white, black and white. Okay, so the object is different. Now we're talking about certain element of it. It cannot be black and white at the same time, but it can be neither. Maybe it is something else. Maybe it is orange. So the object cannot be described as both together, but it can be described as something else. It is neither. So there's a counterpart. Large object going through a small object. Again, it's actually an application of contradiction, but a large object cannot go through a small object at the exact same time without the large object getting smaller, or the small object getting bigger. It doesn't happen. Also, causal laws. So something that moves, there must be a movement. If you see an effect, there must be an effector. Something caused that effect to happen. There must be. That's your mind cannot accept negating of that causal law. And all the sophists, we're going to talk about sophists and their time maybe in more address, maybe next course, inshallah. All the philosophy that leads to atheism and so on and so forth, they basically hinge on negating the causal law. That's their bread and butter. That's basically their thing. They negating the causal law. They negate the mind, the rules of mind. Otherwise, if you apply causal law, if you apply the mind, you will have to accept that Allah exists. You will have to. There is no working around that, right? That's why all the other philosophers, the atheist philosophers, they will say, no, you don't have to accept the rule of law. You don't the causal law. You don't have to accept the rule of mind and so on. Okay. So where did this come from? Quran? Because again, we want to be, as a mutakallim, somebody who studies Aqidah, Islamic theology, you will have to link everything with Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, those who deny our verses are arrogant toward them. The gates of heaven will not be opened for them, nor will they enter paradise until a camel enters into the eye of a needle. And thus do we recompense the criminals. إن الذين كذبوا بآياتنا واستكبروا عنها لا تفتح لهم أبواب السماء حتى يلج الجمل في سم الخياط. This is Al-Araf, ayah number 40. So you can see now, this is impossible. So the Quran gives us indication and signs that أحكام العقل are intrinsic, is actually embedded in the arguments of the Quran. And they are embedded in very intellectually. You can't, if you don't know them, if you don't know Ahkam al-Aql, you will accept this, and you wouldn't really know whether this Ahkam al-Aql or not. It wouldn't come to your mind because it's so basic, so eloquent, so clear to your mind. That's why some scholars will say, no, we don't need Ahkam al-Aql, we don't need to study this and that. But actually, you need if you want to talk to other religions, or even if you are exposed to other religions. And for a lot of other reasons, which is not now the good time for it. But anyway, I hope this ayah is clear, because somebody was asking about the camel going through a needle and so on. This is where it comes from, and it actually also in the Bible as well. Not exact same ayah, but something similar. The other ayah we also need to refer to. So this ayah basically address large object going through small object, which is basically based on these two rules, or based on the contradictions, and the counterpart is just a special occurrence of contradictions. So the rule of contradiction, the rule of large object going through small object, is actually from the Quran. We didn't take that from Aristotle. No, it's from the Quran. If previous got it right, because there were previous prophets and messengers from Allah that taught them, and they acquired that knowledge, they kept it, and then they deviated. But that knowledge is there. The fact that, as I said, it's actually in the Bible. Is it because it is in the Bible it's wrong? Nobody said that, right? Nobody in their right mindset will say that. Right, moving on. The next ayah says, or were they created by nothing, or were they the creators of themselves? أم خلقوا من غير شيء أم هم الخالقون. That's basically Quran ayah in Surah Al-Tur, ayah 35. What is this talking about? It's talking about the causal law. Sababiyya. Have they created themselves, or have they been created from nothing? You cannot get anything from nothing. Right? So And that's actually what is wired. We are wired as a pure and intact fitra. Our natural predisposition is basically programmed this way. And this is why I think a lot of you may have heard before about the Arabi, the Bedouin, who somebody asked him about why he believed in God and there is no proof, or what is the proof of God's existence. And he said it's basic to him. He's not a PhD. He is not even living in the city or have luxurious stuff or whatever. He's just a Bedouin. And he says, البعرة تدل على البعير والأثر يدل على المسير أفلا تدل سماء ذات أبراج وأرض ذات فجاج وبحار ذات أمواج على خالق لطيف خبير. A dropping is a sign of passing of a camel. If you are in the desert, because a Bedouin walks in the desert, so he uses his knowledge and apply taking parables and examples from his own environment. So walking in the desert, if you see a dropping, you know that a camel must have passed here. There is nothing else that would come to your mind. A footprint is a sign of someone walking. If you saw an athar, you know that somebody passed here. A man walked here. So won't skies with constellations, land with pathways, and seas with waves be sign of gracious and all-aware God? He's not just the existence of God, but God who knows. And Latif, he is gracious to you. He could have created the earth, all of it, or the land, all of it, hard for you to walk. But no, he created Jibal, and he created land or areas, pathways for you to walk. He created constellation in the skies to guide you, right, and so on. So he is a creator, a God who knows what you need, because he created your needs and created some other creations for you to interact with. So this is a fitra. This is basically, again, it's causation. Okay, before coming here, actually, there's something else I want to say. Our sheikh taught us that another sheikh, their sheikh or their sheikh's sheikh, it's an old story, but it came with isnad, like from a sheikh to sheikh, like maybe 3 generations ago or something like that. One of the sheikh al-Azhar who was teaching Aqidah and teaching, perhaps he was teaching Al-Kharida as well, I'm not sure. One of the students, like, want to be a smart guy or whatever. He said, yeah, but the causation link isn't. And in the place that they were teaching that, there was a room, black room, a very scary room, and they used to put them like a storeroom. There's dark, no light there, and so on. Pitch black, basically. And then this student saying, yeah, but why it is possible? Why the causation link or causation law has to be there, and so on and so forth. He's arguing about al-Sababiyya. And in his class, there were one of his classmates was like a good building, muscles and all, and you don't want to fight him. So the sheikh told him, okay, let's do an experiment. I'll take you and the other guy, I don't know his name, and put you guys, both of you, in that locker, in that storeroom. Lock you. It's dark, pitch black. And then I will ask him to hit you, like give you a good punch or good spank or whatever. Would there be any chance that somebody else hit you, or that hit came from nothing? It can be. You have to accept that. So if you accept that, then you have to accept that rule everywhere, or for everything else. All right, so moving on now. Someone may say, hold on, but knowing what, because remember we said we need to know Allah, we need to know what is possible, impossible, and so on. Somebody say, yeah, but how can you say that something is impossible for Allah? That's not correct. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything is possible for Allah. Right? Somebody may think that, and it's fine. it's a bit shallow, as you would see, thinking, but it can come to your mind, especially for those who first time to study Aqidah. So somebody may say, no, but that isn't that putting limitation on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're limiting Allah's power, you're limiting Allah's ability, you're limiting Allah. And that's incorrect. Now let's see the evidence. Okay, let's see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself says. Ayat al-Kursi, we all know Ayat al-Kursi and memorize it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, there is no God worthy of worship except him, the ever-living, the sustaining. Neither drowsiness or nor sleep overtakes him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala denies sleep for him. Sleep is inapplicable in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't sleep. So he is denying that. So denying sleeping is not limiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, it's actually denying shortcomings for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So it is not, somebody can say, but Allah can sleep. No, he can't. It's not he can't. Perhaps it is actually a wrong question. Can Allah sleep or not? It is not a wrong. It is a wrong question, because the sleeping state or awaking, the state of being sleeping or awake, that state is inapplicable to Allah. So you cannot ask. This is basically or not awake. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like if you take awake, like he's always awake or always aware. Yeah, but the awake that the being awake that follows being sleep, that is denied from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by doing that, by denying that, you are affirming the all-powerfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another ayah, it doesn't befit the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, to have children. Surah Maryam. So again, it doesn't befit him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have children. There is no children. It is impossible. It is logically impossible. And we're going to talk about that in more courses, advanced courses. But it's actually, it is not just denied by in the Quran because it is not. It's actually impossible from a mind and ahkam al-aql point of view. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Allah do not sleep, and it is not behoved for him to sleep, not fitting, not suitable, right? And that's Muslim. So again, you can deny those stuff or those things from Allah. Denying them is not being implied to Allah. It's not being that you are limiting him. No, it's actually glorifying Allah. Okay? It's in the Quran, the Prophet saying it. There's nothing wrong with it. So denying all that is actually properly glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we affirm what is consistent with glorifying Allah. We deny what is not. Because affirming these attributes or these descriptions or characteristics or whatever would be affirming shortcomings. Shortcomings that would mean denying Allah glorifies or not glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the extent or the utmost level possible. Impossibility means absurdity here, not necessary. It's absurd because, to our mind, but maybe somebody would say it is not absurd. Like those who believe Allah has a child, like Jesus is a son of God. To them, it's not absurd. It's absurd to us because we apply the ahkam al-aql and we think about it and so on and so forth. But we say it's absurd, but not necessary for everybody, right? Anyway, so the important point here is it is wrong to assume that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be affirmed every perfection that you think of, like in absolute way. No, it's the perfections that are pure perfections, not any perfection in your mind. Like so for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is affirmed all pure perfections, as I said, which are perfections in themselves, intrinsically perfection. Like the definition of that attribute in itself is something perfect. It is not dependable on something else to be perfect or to be described as perfect. Right? This again is very, very important. Maybe it doesn't like click now why you are saying that, but later on you will find that it's important. For example, in our natural rules, being able to give birth is a perfection against being sterile, right? But for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is a shortcoming, because giving birth in itself is not a perfection. It's a perfection based on our understanding or on our definition of that state. So perhaps I said that earlier. The attribute, a state of being either this or that. If it is inapplicable, then it cannot be described by it. For example, a wall. You can't say the wall is hungry or full. Can somebody, if someone asks you, is the wall hungry or full? You say he's crazy. He's out of his mind, right? The wall is not applicable. That is a state, an attribute is called, or a state that is inapplicable for that particular object. Now again, moving on to the Quran and the Quran argument, how the Quran puts an argument, right? وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا آتَيْنَاهَا إِبْرَاهِيم, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Ibrahim how to argue. Are you not aware of the one who argued with Ibrahim alayhi salam, about his Lord, because Allah had granted him kingship, Namrud? When Ibrahim said, my Lord is the one who has power to give life and cause death, he argued, the Namrud, the king, I too have the power to give life and cause death. We all know the story. He got two prisoners, he killed one and let one to live, and say, see, I give death to that, and I left this guy to live. Of course, the Namrud argument is incorrect, it's flawed. But Abraham didn't go through showing him why this is flawed. He basically hit him with another more clear argument. So there are two things here. First, the Ahkam al-Aql, what we talked about, there are two. You know what? Let this be later on, because I think we don't have time to elaborate more. It's maybe come in further courses, inshallah. But anyway, the main point here is what Ibrahim said after that, the other challenge. He said, Allah causes the sun to rise from the east, so make it rise from the west. And so the disbeliever was dumbstruck, buhit, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't guide wrongdoing people. Okay, we all know this story. Now, I want you to think carefully about the argument. Forget about the first argument, about the argument about the east and the west. Right? He said, what did he say? Allah causes the sun to rise from the east, so make it rise from the west. Okay, let's take a quick pause. What is the type of the challenge to make the sun rise from the west? Is it customarily challenge? Is it Sharia challenge? Is it logic, rational? Is it physical? I think perhaps the question is not put properly. It confused you. Maybe the terminology I used is not right, because I got a little bit of mixed answers. Let's publish the results. I mean, I think you can argue that most of these answers are correct, but that's why I'm saying perhaps the question I asked is incorrect. I should have rephrased the question. It's my mistake. Sorry. But it's customarily, it's basically, it's possible. It is not impossible or wajib or necessary. Going back to I should have added some stuff to this question. So going back to the rules of Ahkam al-Aql, the necessary, the impossible, the possible. Is this challenge argument, is it impossible? Is it impossible that the sun rises from the west? Is it necessary that the sun rise from the west? Is it possible that the sun rise from the west or from the east? It doesn't matter, but just to go with the ayah. That's what I wanted really to ask. So I think the answer is it's possible, right? And this is the key. Had Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, argued with him with a necessary challenge, then Abu said, "Are you out of your mind? That's a necessary thing. I mean, it's already happening. Why do you want me to ask something that's already happening? That's nonsense." All right? Had Ibrahim also challenged him with something that is impossible, like from an intellectual mind of like the Ahkam al-Aql point of view, it can't happen, like the contradictions, getting contradictions together, or kosher law, or anything like that, he would have said to him, "That's impossible. You cannot ask me to do that. It's impossible. It doesn't work. Again, that's nonsense, right?" And that's why the hujjah here, the argument, was made over that king, and he was dumbstruck. He buhit, because he was challenged with something that is possible to do for a god. It's possible, but he couldn't do it, right? Also, going back to the poem said you need to know what is like necessary and possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, you need to do that or know that for the messengers and the prophets. So, for example, it's necessary for them to be honest. It doesn't work, like from mind Ahkam al-Aql point of view, for a prophet to be dishonest. It doesn't work, because if he is being dishonest, then people wouldn't believe him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by sending him, he didn't pick right. That basically means Allah couldn't make a right decision, which doesn't work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a God that is worthy of worship and so on and so forth, cannot be ignorant or cannot be ill advised or cannot like make a wrong decision. That doesn't make sense, right? Impossible for them to be idiots as well. So it is necessary for them to be honest. It's impossible for them to be idiots. It's possible for them to marry, to eat, to walk, to get sick. But any sickness that doesn't hinder their ability to deliver the message. Because again, if that's the case, then you go to affirming a shortcoming for Allah's decision, how He sent somebody who can deliver. Do you have any poll? Let's take that poll again then. The poll that I said we're going to leave it for later. Okay, so now you see that poll again. These were the results. Now, knowing what we know now, again, the question is, examples of impossible rational judgments are 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. That is impossible. Your mind cannot accept that 1 = 1 = 1. That doesn't work. 2 / 3 = 6. That's necessary, right? 2 / 3 = 6. It has to equal 6. A flying teapot. That's possible, right? In fact, actually, we can see that if you throw a teapot, there is the famous mother flying slipper, right? For every kid. It flies for a bit, and it could just start flying or keep flying. So you don't see it, a flying pot by itself, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could create a flying pot. It's possible. So it's impossible perhaps from a physical or this world constraints that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it to act in a certain way. A moving object without a mover, that's impossible. Right? We knew that the causal link, something that moving, there must be a mover. A camel going through the eye of a needle, that's also impossible. Right? I think now all these options are clear now. Would it suffice with regards to the prophets to affirm whatever necessary for their prophethood and denying anything possible for or deny anything impossible for their prophethood without knowing specifics? Again, at a high level, that's what necessary for you to understand, or that's not necessary from I'm using necessary now or in this statement like in the normal linguistic meaning. It's you are obliged to know that at a high level. Again, like that Bedouin who just looked around and it's a clear burhan, it's a proof, evidence. It's very strong, but it's something very clear, very high level. Yeah, you can do that. So knowing that the prophets, like the knowing or having what the obligation here. Let's be clear, or let's give it a little bit more definition. You are obliged to know enough for you to affirm, affirm with knowledge, be known and knowledgeably, and so on and so forth, that Allah exists, there is a God, that the prophets are honest, and they are basically rightly sent from Allah, and so on. Now let's say, moving on, when you grow up a little bit more and your realization became like more and more and a lot of other knowledge, you developed shubha, you developed something like caused you to be doubtful about something. Now you're obliged to study and know more and think more, enough for you to push away that doubts and have that affirmation again, and so on. So our religion, or what I'm asking you to do, and what we should be doing, is you need to know enough for yourself, so that when you stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you say, yeah, I believe. The issue of al-muqallid, the man somebody who's just say I'm mu'min, but he doesn't know why, and so on and so forth. There is a lot of debate whether he's considered mu'min or not, and so on. And this is not we could discuss it later on. But for you now, what we need to know is, if you are a person who you are Muslim, or are in this religion because your parents were, and if one of your parents basically left the religion, you will leave it and follow him again as well, or follow them, then you have a problem. But if you are following your parent, but if your parent left Islam, you will still be Muslim, then you are fine, right? You don't have to have a PhD in Tawheed or in theology. You don't have to know all that kind of stuff. So you know enough. That's the point. And of course, the Ummah needs to have scholars so that they can teach others if they need. If somebody got a doubt, they can teach him why this doubt is wrong, and so on. And we have a challenge. We are not asking you, as Muslims, you are not being asked to take things as they are. You are obliged. We are actually challenging you, if you want, to go through and try to find problems. And no matter what problem you find, there will be an answer for it. Right? You don't have to do that. I'm not asking you. You don't I'm not saying that you should do that or you have to do that. I'm just saying, if you are a person who feel that religion is restraining you, or just a bunch of nonsense or whatever, well, okay, look and search and come up with why you think like that, and think rationally. And if you are really honest, you don't have a pre-opinion that you want to impose. You don't have like an embedded arrogance that you don't want some other entity to be controlling over you, to have control over you. If you think objectively and you're going to accept the result with whatever it is, you will find the answer. You will find that you must reach that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. There is no way. Okay, so I hope I answered your question. Camel going through the eye of a needle is impossible. No, it's not. Okay, the complete question, sorry. Camel going through the eye of a needle is impossible only customarily. No, it's impossible from ahkam al-aql point of view. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses it in the ayah. The ayah says, basically, the kuffar, those who kadhabu and kafaru and istakbaru on the ayahs, they will not go into Jannah. If it is not mind, like ahkam al-aql, according to the mind and intellect, impossible, then they will go to a Jannah. There is no point then of Quran, or no point of the ayah. And again, that's why what I'm trying by putting those ayah here is trying to reinforce your knowledge, reinforce this point and give you the knowledge and the comfortableness that all what we're saying in Tawheed here is not philosophy. It is not. We didn't get that from Aristotle, as some ignorance like to say. It's actually in the Quran, right? وإياكم جزاكم الله خيرا. Can I leave now? Yeah, I said before, is only the lesson. Since we once we go to the Q&A, everybody who wants to have to leave, you are free to do. How is the sun setting from the west is possible argument, like for the king. It was supposed to be impossible. It is impossible for customarily impossible, because human created a thing that is created that doesn't have control over other creations cannot do it. But the creator who has power over it can do it. It is within the scope of the power. It's a state that a creator possibly can do from Ahkam al-Aql point of view. That's why he was dumbstruck. That's why he bohit. He was like asabahu al-buhtan. Because it proved that now we know, everybody knows who is watching us, who is watching this debate. Everybody knows that you are king, the king, that Namrud, you are not God. Because had you been a God, you would have control over the sun. You could have ordered it to come from the west. And we all know that the sun is going to rise from the west as a sign, the major sign of al-Qiyam. So it is possible. From Ahkam al-Aql point of view, it's just impossible customarily for a human. Is it clear? It's a good question. I mean, all those questions are very good questions. Okay, so I think we answered all the questions. Anything else in your mind, guys? Question about this lesson or previous lessons or something else? Suggestions for next lesson or next course? Anything like that? Feel free to join the Telegram now. By the way, we have created a group in the Facebook. So those who cannot follow the Telegram can go to the group in the Facebook. If you don't know the group, I posted it on my page. I think everybody knows where my page is, so it will be okay. If someone is exposed to doubts, arguments against the existence of God that use advanced philosophy or science, and it affects their iman, does this person need to study the subject in order to gain clarity and respond against it? Yes, absolutely. So that's what we're saying. You are now actually you are now obliged, because you need to you need to push away these debates. If it is affecting your iman, if you said no, I mean, yeah, I still believe about my religion, even though there is this argument which seems to be plausible or whatever, I don't really. I'm still following with the yaqeen, with affirmation, my religion. Then you don't have to. But if that doubt causing you to be very shaky about and you wake up, no, there is no God. You know what? There is no God, and you like stay like that for some time, and then you come back and so on. Then you need to study that. You don't have to study it by yourself. You shouldn't be studying it by yourself, but you need to go to the ulama, go to the scholars, specialized scholars, and then they will lead you or they will guide you where you need to look, and they will tell you why this doubt is wrong. Okay. Can you teach Arabic? Yes, I think there is in our very first lesson, we said there is going to be a course about Arabic for Quran. I started some of that already, or some recorded. We're going to go to that again, but it's just timing. The problem is most people can't have lessons, or a lot of people can't have lessons during weekdays. So the lessons are only going to be in weekends at the moment, at least until you guys like work out your schedule and you're happy to have classes during the weekdays. But for now, all classes are during weekends. And I don't want to bombard you with a lot of courses, a lot of classes. So we have Saturday for Hadith now, Al-Nawawi, and Sunday for Al-Aqidah. Do you want to have another lesson or another course starting in parallel with the Aqidah? I could do that. Let me know what you think. We could start other courses. There are a lot of courses, a lot of things that we want to do, but just time is a constraint. Could you make a curriculum of what you will want to teach so we have an overview? Yes, I actually said there is a roadmap. I just still working on it. I didn't post it yet because it's going to be basic level, or like a level that every single human being should learn, should know. Every Muslim, right? or even non-Muslim. If non-Muslims want to join us, they are welcome for sure. And they are welcome to ask questions and everything. We are not closed circle. Again, we are not religion like other religions that tell you, no, don't think, don't work your mind here or there. It is not a matter of belief, not mind. Like that's nonsense. We don't do that. But there is a roadmap before, like 200 years ago or something like that. The laymen, al-awam, or people who are not specialized in Sharia, knew more than a lot of people now. A lot of those who presented themselves as shuyukh and as ulama and as scholars. Their knowledge is actually nothing, and that's the problem. We have a problem now. I'm just the first level of courses are something that will bring like you will not be ammi in the topic. So that's the first thing. All right, and after that it's going to be more specialized. So there is a roadmap. I'm still working on it. Just bear with me. I want to tell you, okay. Thank you very much. I hope you, if you register for the Tajweed course, Tuhfat al-Atfal, that's great. I hope you can start that soon. At the moment, I scheduled it after we finish Al-Arba'in an-Nawawiyya on Saturday. But again, if you guys are happy to have another course on Sunday, we can make it after this one. We can start earlier. Let me know. You said that self-studying is bad because one can misunderstand. Is it okay to self-study if we only learn the content ourselves, then ask teacher to test our understanding? No, it's the other way around. It's basically a teacher will teach you how to think. The problem is how to understand what you are reading. And when you have a problem, how to identify the problem and how to look for a key, like something else. Like I now, for example, I found that problems or something that I don't understand. I go to my sheikh, or if I don't have to go to my sheikh taught me how to find it. Right? So it is that key, the way to or ma'rifah. There is information and there is knowledge and ilm. The way of transferring information into knowledge. This is what you need to learn. And this is why you need check. Then you can go to advanced levels and so on and so forth, right? I think 3 lessons a week isn't too bad. More than that would be too excessive. Okay, I agree. If everybody is happy to have another lesson after Sunday, we could do that. Where is the form of the Tajweed course? It's in the Telegram group, and I think I also posted it in the Facebook group. You can find it. Are you okay? So, the gentleman or the person is asking about the form of Tajweed course. Are you have you joined us? Are you following me in the Telegram and in the Facebook page? Okay, so I'll repost it in the Telegram channel so it is easy for you to find. Okay. Okay. Anything else, guys? Sheikh, I suggest you launch a course on Muslim masculinity and Sirah. Yeah, the Sirah is certainly in our mind. We'll do that, inshallah. There is another option, but I mean, I don't prefer that option, but I also considering it, is making recorded lessons and then a few lessons after the recording to like reinforce that knowledge and go through it. I mean, I prefer what we're doing now, but we'll see in the future what will happen, inshallah. Is it a Zoho meeting? You mean the Tajweed? It's still going to be a webinar. Everything, inshallah, is going to be a webinar. But then in the Tajweed, we will open the mic to allow people to practice some of what we're going to be saying. Okay, anything else? Right, seems we are good. We're at the end. Again, feel free to ask questions if you want in the Telegram channel, in the Facebook page. If you have any suggestions, feel free to do that as well. Inshallah, I'll see you next time, bismillah. Because men are being emasculated and being feminine as a result of various deviant ideologies. So Muslim masculinity will help us live our lives as Sahaba. I agree. I mean, you're totally right. What we what we're doing, what I'm trying to do with your suggestions and with your help to make sure that I'm doing what I should do correctly. We're trying to fill the gaps and learn something that is relevant to our day-to-day life, what we are doing now, the challenges and the problems that we see in our communities now, right? So Jazakallah khair, inshallah, help us do that, and for sure. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Alaikum salam wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan, all of you. See you inshallah next time. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Astaghfiruka Allahumma min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayk. Subhanakallahumma. اللهم صل أفضل صلاة على أسعد مخلوقاتك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.